Yesterday, we talked about an interesting subplot between Alabama's defense and Georgia's offense. Well, today is time for the main event, Georgia's D against Bama's O.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me, and Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel a bit. Got a new sponsor, a local sponsor that we love, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit. And I want to thank you everydayers for joining us, because you are essentially the greatest people alive. I'm trying not to be hyperbolic.
That's a fact. It's not an opinion.
So Jimmy, we talked about the Bama offense, the Bama defense against the Georgia offense, because that is cool. That is going to be less talked about than what we're talking about today. But it's so interesting. But really, in the end, it is going to be Georgia's D against Bama's O. And look, there are a lot of subplots. I mean, Jalen Milroe, he had a fantastic game. He was the SEC MVP last year of the championship game, and beat Georgia, which Georgia felt like for all the world they were going to just roll into the national championship. You got Justice Haynes, who was a Georgia legacy, who only got 2 carries in the Wisconsin game, and a lot of people think he's going to play a much bigger role. You got Jam Miller, who caught a pass for a touchdown last year. You got Ryan Williams, of course, on the offense. That can he score a touchdown again and keep his streak going against what is probably the best defense in the country? Who knows? But I was reading your article today on Bama Online where you sort of run down the Georgia defense. And, all year long I've been thinking, I'm so used to knowing Georgia's players because, number one, we play them very often in a postseason type of atmosphere. And they have so many dudes. And this year it felt like to me they didn't have as many dudes. Then I read your article. They got dudes. And sad to say, they got dudes.
Yeah, I don't think they're quite as good. I'll be the first to admit, even though I wrote that, I don't think they're as good as they were in 2022. Their second national championship team, when they won 2 in a row, I think that was their best defense. And I think 2021 was their second best defense. And I'm talking about of recent vintage. I think, though, this defense is better than last year. And in part because one of the things that I think is impressive about their defense is they have a dude at every level. Michael Williams up front, complete dude, first-round pick. Mondon, the linebacker, dude, high pick in the draft. Linebackers don't go as high as other positions, but he's a dude. And Malachi Starks. I mean, there's very few players in the country as good as he is. I mean, freshman All-American. I mean, that's a great developmental arc for a star. Freshman All-American, second team All-SEC. Freshman All-American, first team All-SEC in year 2, obvious first team All-American, Thorpe Award candidate, and everything else in year 3. And then he'll be a first-round pick. I mean, his developmental arc is something right out of the Louvre. I mean, that's exactly what you want. So Starks in the defensive backfield, Mondon in the second level, Michael Williams in the first level. So they got those dudes. But that's not all they have. But I think that's how you build a great defense, Luke. You've got a star at every level of your defense.
Yeah, and I was muted, but I got it quick. So
that doesn't even count.
I will say this. One of our listeners said, Luke, you're muting because you have bad gas or something, right? That's not why I'm muting. I'm muting so I don't, you don't hear the backdrop of other work stuff. So y'all think of me more than that. But yes, I would mute for that reason, but that's not why I'm muting. Maybe occasionally, but not every time. Anyway, so yeah, I looking over that list. You were talking about Starks and then William. I mean, and here's the other thing. Kirby just came out. I mean, I didn't realize they had so many injuries. They've got one dude who had 2 broken fibulas or something that's coming back. They got another dude with an Achilles problem that's coming back. And Michael Williams has been out for a little bit.
He should be back this week.
And he's going to be back. I'm like, Okay, I liked it better when I didn't know those guys could be out and they're coming back. I wish I just thought, okay, they're there the whole time. I'm like, dang it, now they're coming back.
What a challenge Williams is for our two tackles. I mean,
Yeah.
Proctor was great game one. I mean, knocking the rust off. I thought he was really good against Wisconsin. That's a good team. Okay, now can you block a first-round pick? Oh, and they move him around. He's going to be on Pritchett some. We weren't even sure Pritchett was going to be the starter going into this year. Now, can you block a first-round pick? And not just a first-round pick, a guy that's probably going to be a first-round pick in April. So this guy's just weeks or months away from being a first-round NFL pick. There's no greater challenge than those guys, not just talented guys, but guys that are talented and mature, guys that are talented one half a step short of being a pro football player. So heck of a challenge for Proctor and Pritchett this weekend to get Williams blocked, to say nothing of Nazir Stackhouse up front is a great player. Chambliss in the middle of that, CJ Allen in the middle of that defense for Georgia, very good. And in the secondary, Dalen Everett, he's a real good corner. Ryan's been great. Now go beat Dalen Everett. Who's, again, a pro-ready NFL corner. That's what Ryan Williams has taken on this week. That's why it's just an all-new ball game. And I don't say all this to say the task is impossible. It can't be done. Trust me, someone at Georgia, I hope today, is smart enough to be going over Alabama's list of dudes and going, hey, we thought when Saban retired, these guys were taking a step back. Have y'all looked at their lineup? And they're doing the same thing. Alabama's got dudes too. And that's why the game's going to be great. And stay tuned for the big prediction show that we'll have, that we record every Thursday. And just because I'm going to be ranting about how good Georgia is doesn't mean that I'm picking Georgia on Thursday. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and I think the Ryan Williams matchup against Georgia secondary is just going to be awesome, because here's an opportunity. Now, look, don't judge Ryan Williams based on the Georgia game. Judge him based on what you've already seen through 3 games. He's going to be awesome. I'm not predicting this, but he could take a step back or not be as dynamic against Georgia. That's okay. He's the youngest player in college football, and I can promise you this, Georgia's heard enough about Ryan Williams where they're like, that dude ain't beating us. Now, somebody else may beat us. Maybe Kobe Prentice beats us. Maybe Kendrick Law beats us. Ryan Williams ain't beating us. That would be
they might bracket him. The problem with bracketing him is you're getting guys away from the line of scrimmage, which means Milroe may just 8-yard you to death. But they may bracket Ryan Williams, and that'd be great. That just opens up things for Jeremy Bernard. A couple guys that have been quiet so far that I don't believe will stay quiet. Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law. They're both due, not necessarily for 150-yard games, but big plays because they haven't made enough, and I know they're capable. If Georgia just brackets Ryan Williams and kind of takes him out, because he's probably never faced that, or not to that quality. He probably did in high school, but that's nothing. To be bracketed, meaning you got a low defender and a high defender that are on you. So the high defender doesn't let you get past him. The low defender doesn't let you catch balls underneath. Also makes the throws difficult for Milroe. But again, if you bracket him and high-low him, boy, that's going to do a lot of favors for the Alabama run game. Last year, Georgia used 2 spies on Milroe, and it somewhat worked until it didn't. It'll be interesting to see if they do that again.
That will be interesting, and I think Milroe's better than he was last year.
Yes.
And frankly, I don't mean this in any way offensively, and we'll talk about this later. Sometimes when you say, I don't mean this disrespectfully, it always comes off as disrespect. Like, I think Georgia's defense probably was a little better last year. So
could be. They certainly have dudes, and they lost guys in the NFL, particularly in the secondary, especially. One thing I think is going to help Milroe, and I think it's helped him so far, and it helps every quarterback. It's going to help Carson Beck too. He's got Nick Sheridan in his helmet, and how Georgia's defending him can be constantly reminded to him, at least until there's 15 seconds on the clock. Sheridan can say, hey, 2 spies. What do we talk about all week when there's 2 spies? Or, hey, they're bracketing Ryan. What did we talk about all week when we said, hey, they're bracketing Ryan? So that communication is very helpful. It's helpful to every quarterback. It's not particularly helpful to Milroe. I'm just saying it helps. You didn't have that a year ago is where it helps.
I hope he says it in a less condescending manner than you just threw out there. Like if he goes,
if I was a coach,
"Hey,
I'd
Jalen, what did we talk
what did
about?"
we talk about?
That's the way my wife
Yeah.
talks to me when I hadn't taken the trash up.
That's probably where I'm getting it from, frankly.
All right, time to talk a little FanDuel, because FanDuel is awesome and y'all want to hear about it, and I want to tell you about it. That's why. FanDuel is the absolute best. It is the number one sports book in America. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's number one sports book, as I've already mentioned. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's only, and I mean only, at FanDuel.com, which, of course, is America's number one sportsbook. New sponsor time, y'all. It's almost time. Birmingham. And listen, we're going to have a live show, Jimmy and I, at this location in Birmingham. It's almost time. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is opening Monday, October 7th at 4610 US Highway 280. I cannot wait. Come be one of the first to see the new store with the best in sports equipment, outdoor gear, clothing, and shoes, all at low prices. Check out Academy's wide selection of brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, and much, much more. Don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October 11th through Sunday, October 13th. Plus, shop grand opening deals Thursday through Sunday. In the meantime, check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25. Join the fun at your newest Academy Sports and Outdoors in Birmingham. I'm telling you, Jimmy and I are going to do a live show there. And it's going to be that weekend, the 11th through the 13th. It's either going to be on that Friday or that Sunday. We haven't figured that part out yet. We will let y'all know. And we want y'all to come by and say hi to us. Come by and really say hi to Jimmy. I mean, I'm there, but come by and say hi to Jimmy. He can sign stuff. So there we go. But come see us at Academy Sports, 4610 US Highway 280. Man, I can't wait for this. All right, Jimmy, time to talk a little Cruton, because I'm telling you, Bama's putting together a list for this weekend. It's coming together nicely. And but I'm going to start with somebody that's not going to be there this weekend. That is very, very interesting. Anquan Fagans will be visiting Alabama for the Missouri game. That is, of course, according to your friends over there at Bama Online. Andrew Bone always do an amazing job, along with Joseph Hastings, both friends of the program. And Anquan Fagans, who really wasn't giving Alabama much of a sniff. He's committed to Auburn. But, I just feel like Alabama's got at least a puncher's chance. I'm not saying he's flipping, but I'm saying he's got a puncher's chance.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, if you think about this, he's committed to Auburn. And this is a good player. This is a good player. And, I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, Auburn never signs a good player. I mean, if the kid's ranked high and everybody wants him, he's a good player. I don't care if he signs with Auburn or not. He's good. I mean, if you look at it, I think he's consensus top 100. That makes him pretty elite in my book. I mean, if you're in the top 100 at On3 Rivals 24/7 and ESPN, you're a dude, okay? I think he is a dude. But look how Alabama is appealing to him. Beyond the fact that it's just, 40 minutes from his house? It's maybe an hour away at most. So you're an hour away. Alabama has no safeties in this class. He shows up. He's the dude at safety in his group. That doesn't always happen at Alabama, where Alabama does, admittedly, stack 5-woods like 5 stars like Cordwood. I mean, they're usually stacked in there. He'd be the first safety. Third,
5 woods like Starwood. Is that what you were about to say?
I was going to say 5. I was going to say 5 stars like Cordwood. Instead, the wood came out, so it came out like 5 wood. Maybe it's because I'm going to the driving range in a couple of hours, and that's just in my head.
Yeah.
I like Alabama's chances here. I really do. Now, am I predicting a flip? No. Is BOL predicting a flip? No. As a matter of fact, ask me today, Jimmy, what's Anquan Fagans going to do on signing day? My answer today is he's going to sign with Auburn. Does Alabama have a real chance? I think Alabama's got a great chance. Again, close to home, only safety. And look where Auburn's program is versus Alabama's, okay?
We're going to talk about Auburn in the third segment, because their coach has said something that is
Yeah, so look
Very
where
interesting.
Auburn is compared to the stability that Alabama offers. And I think his older brother, went to Alabama, might not have had the greatest experience. I know nothing about that. I just know that he left after like a year, and then he went to USC, and then he left there. Now he's in Central Florida. So it could be speculation on my part. The older brother's like, "Oh, don't sign with Alabama. I went there and I didn't like it." As far as I know, the kid's telling him, "Hey, it didn't work out for me, but it's an awesome place to be." I don't know what Traquan Fagans tells his brother. I have no idea. I'm just saying Alabama hadn't really been in the picture here. Now it's sort of catching some level of momentum.
Well,
So,
and here's another positive. Keon Sabb is moving up draft boards. I've seen that.
that's a great point.
And
And Malachi Moore, the other safety, is definitely gone.
yeah. So,
you have a couple of openings there, and the heir is apparent. I mean, Devontae Smith playing a bigger role, Red Morgan playing a bigger role. There's the opportunity. They'll tell him there's an opportunity, and that's not really an exaggeration. There really is one. So, you add that up. Now, NIL, this is the NIL era, and NIL is why Jimmy Stein, for instance, I'm not going to say any of these kids. I'm not going to say it's Fagans or anybody else, but like Jimmy Stein, I'm speaking for me. I'm going to be committed to my favorite school. And then when New Mexico State A&M Tech calls and offers me $1 million, I'm going to be at New Mexico A&M State Tech. I'll figure out what the name of the school is later after the check clears myself. That's speaking for me.
And then I'll give NIL money to my favorite school later because I'll have some.
That's right. So I'm just saying it ain't like the old days. The NIL changes everything. When you say, "Oh, it's not logical for him to sign there," oh, it might be. Oh, it might be. It would be for me. But
some other
that kind of guy.
The list of recruits coming this weekend is epic. And maybe the best list Alabama's ever had, and we've had some incredible lists. Two guys that were just added: Jet Washington, the number 1 player at Bishop Gorman for the 26th class in Nevada.
Sounds fast.
He, by the way, is Kobe Bryant's nephew. Again, shout out to Andrew Bone. That is very cool. And then the number 1 player in Oklahoma, who's a running back, Caden Jones, for the 26th class, will also be in attendance. This list is going to be just amazing. And it's sort of like it's the who's who of who's who.
It's the Vanity Fair after party at the Oscars.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean,
for recruits.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were players on other teams in college now that come to the game. They're like, I just want to take an official
Bone
visit.
and Hastings won't be able to get pictures of these guys because there'll be too much paparazzi.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That's how star-studded the visitor list is. We'll go over the visitor list in detail on our last show this week once Bone and Hastings sort of finalize it up. They've been doing a lot of work putting that together, and then we'll share some of it with you guys here.
Yeah, definitely need to confirm a lot of these guys to be sure. But, man, this list is so incredible, and I'm really hoping for a commit or two after it. I don't know that that's going to be a immediate thing because Alabama's at a point, they got, 20 commitments right now, and I think they're going to be rather picky. Maybe they get some 26 guys, maybe.
Yes, they sign. I've always said I think they're going to sign right at 25 maybe in this group. So that's, 5 more spots. But there could be commitments. We'll see. These are so many big names. Hard to believe that a huge name just commits at a game and tweets it out. That doesn't usually happen with the biggest of names, but we'll see. But it is star-studded. It's like, how they make a big deal when Taylor Swift goes to a Chiefs game? This is like 60 Taylor Swifts at a Chiefs game.
Okay, I can buy that. I'm down with that. If we had 60 Taylor Swifts at this game, I think we'd get some commitments from somebody. All right. So, Jimmy, in this last segment, and by the way, we're going to talk more recruiting later in the week. We do want to get the list more finalized, but Andrew Bone just put this out, and I thought it needed to be said. Look, it's locked on Bama, but we got to talk about some of the things Hugh Freeze said, and we're going to do that in this next segment. But I need to tell you about 5-Hour Energy because it's the best. I'm going to be using some 5-Hour Energy this weekend. I got a lot going on. And I've used 5-Hour Energy last weekend. And I just got invited to the Alabama-Georgia game. And so I'm super excited. I do get to go to the game now. And I'm going to be using my 5-Hour Energy because I don't stay up that late. But I love 5-Hour Energy. It doesn't make you feel jittery. It fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list to do for work or you have a long list of recruits you're studying before you go to the Georgia game, 5-Hour Energy Shot will help you get through all of this. If you want to get in shape but you're having trouble getting motivated, make 5-Hour Energy Shot part of your lifestyle, and it will help. Grab a 5-Hour Energy Shot. Stay alert on all your favorite games. If you want to stay up late to see that intense overtime game, take a 5-Hour Energy Shot in the morning. You're ready to start that day. 5-Hour Energy Shots give you the feeling of alertness and energy you need to get in the zone. And I love me some 5-Hour Energy. I take it seriously just about every weekend. You can go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com and get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off this order. Go to 5hourenergy.com. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, but you already knew that. Okay, Jimmy, eventually people show who they are, right? And it's hard to present yourself as one person to the public all the time, because eventually you're going to be caught, especially in these times. You're going to be caught with your pants down, figuratively or literally, and you're going to be in some trouble.
What the are you talking about?
Hugh Freeze said something yesterday in his press conference about the Arkansas game that shocked me. He said, hey, what really bothers him about this game is that if we played Arkansas 9 more times, we'd beat them 9 times. That's, first of all, no. I don't know what universe you're on.
First of all, it's not even true.
No, it's not true.
It's not even remotely true. They would beat them some of the time, maybe half the time.
Sure they would. I think it might be even a split. I'm not saying Auburn wouldn't. Auburn might win 6 of 10. They might.
Good.
The better quarterback was on Arkansas squad. And as we all know, that if you have the better quarterback, you got a shot. Now, if you have the better quarterback, if you're Vandy and you got the better quarterback, it's going to be tough to beat Georgia. I don't care who Georgia's quarterback is.
This game was at Auburn. It wasn't at Arkansas or in a parking lot in Bentonville, Arkansas at a Walmart.
Well, here's my other question.
At Auburn.
What does that say about you if you pick this one time to lay an egg?
Yeah, they should have beat them, the first time. And they need to worry about beating Oklahoma the first time they play them. Or, to be honest, beating Vanderbilt. I mean, SEC Shorts did a whole their best joke of the whole SEC Shorts this week was Auburn being worried about playing Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they let the coffin in, yeah.
A fictional opponent, playing a fictional opponent 9 times. I would be worried about the next one. And Oklahoma's handing, by the way, if you'd have told me this summer that Oklahoma would be going to Auburn after benching Jackson Arnold, I'd be like, God, those Auburn guys are so lucky. What a break. What a break they get. They get the kid, the true freshman making his first start. What a typical Auburn break. Yet we see how it's playing out. I'm still going to pick Oklahoma to win the game, though I do think it could be low scoring. That might be one of that 3-2 Mississippi State game from years back.
It could be. But again, what I'm coming back to is this is what's so bothersome about coaches that put out this front, so Christian, so holier than thou, so above board. And when you say something like that, forget the part where he threw his players under the bus, which you and I both agree, okay, it probably wasn't as bad as some people want to paint that picture. I have no problem. I'm not defending him.
It was bad, but it wasn't as bad.
But it wasn't as bad as people make it out.
Because he had thrown himself under the bus first, and no one ever has covered that. But he said before, he said what he said about the players. He said, I'm doing a terrible job coaching this team or whatever he did. But he did insult himself before he insulted his players, which I believe you should never do under any instance, particularly at this age. I come from the Bobby Cox school of coaching. Bobby Cox he played 162 games a year. His rule was, when we win, credit to the players. When we lose, that's on me. And that's how coaching should be. And
that is a good rule to live by. But this, and he started out, again, as I said in an earlier segment, when you start out with, hey, no offense, but you're about to offend somebody. And what he said was, no offense to Sam Pittman. I love Sam Pittman, but we beat them 9 straight times. No, first, you wouldn't. And to say that is the hubris.
Same guy said he should have beaten Saban 4 times. He was lucky to beat him at all.
Lucky to beat him at all.
He got huge breaks to win the 2 he did. To say nothing, to think he was just breaks away from what I mean, that's so it's condescending. It's dumb. It sounds like something a fan would say. You know, that's not something have y'all ever heard of any head coach saying, boy, if we got 9 more shots at them, we'd be 9-0. Have you ever heard a coach say that?
You know what would be more realistic? First of all, you said it best. You said what he's talking like is a dude on a message board.
Yeah,
Number one.
That's what it sounds like a fan venting. A fan, you know, a lot of message board things are rants or vents. People are upset and they want to share that they're upset. And then so something comes out that's illogical, that doesn't age well. That's what you just said isn't going to age well. Because now when they lose, I mean, no one in their press corps is going to do this, but when they lose to Oklahoma this weekend, is someone in the press corps going to ask, yeah, coach, but what would happen if you played them 9 more times?
Well, I mean, and again, so if you're New Mexico State from last year and you beat Auburn's brains in, do you say, we probably beat them 9 straight times? Or if you're Alabama last year and Nick Saban had come out and said, you know, that game should have never been that close. Now, we all think that, and I think even Auburn people admit that. But to say it would be like discounting that the game even happened. And the game did happen. And Auburn fought tooth and nail against us. They took us to task. And we did get kind of lucky at the end. I had no problem saying that. And if Nick Saban had come out and said, we'd play them 9 more times and beat them 9 more times, I'd be like, Saban, don't say that, because you know what? For 2 straight years, we've needed miracles to beat them in their place. Give them some credit.
And that's I'm glad I don't have to play them 9 more times in this place. Let's go home.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I think.
Let's quote Chris Stewart and let's get out of here.
The more realistic thing, and for Hugh Freeze to have said, instead of we beat Arkansas 9 straight times, or I should have 4 wins against Saban, is, hey, if I didn't have these 2 wins against Saban, I wouldn't have this job right now. So
if that ball hadn't bounced off the back of that kid's helmet and we raced 70 yards with it, I wouldn't have this job right now, because that's kind of what happened when they beat the Bateman-Coker thing. If Lane Kiffin hadn't come up with we got to start Bateman against Ole Miss, if that didn't happen, would Hugh Freeze be at Auburn right now? If Lane Kiffin, if they had just started Coker in that game and Alabama won the game by a single point because they started Coker and didn't start Cooper Bateman, would Hugh Freeze be the coach at Auburn? But that's a crazy hypothetical, although not nearly as crazy as let's play Arkansas 9 more times. That's an even crazier hypothetical. But I can be a little crazy. I'm hosting a podcast here.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and here's the other thing, that if I'm Arkansas, I'm like, hey, hold on, guys. Hadn't I beaten y'all the last 2 times I've come to this place? I mean, now I know one of them was under Brian Harsin, true. And last year, here's the other thing. Hugh Freeze did embarrass Arkansas last year, and kudos. That was your best win of the year. No doubt about it. He was great. But then so Arkansas, I mean, I would say arguably is maybe just as good as last year, if not, I mean, there may be a hair better or a hair worse.
I think they're a little better.
Okay.
If Auburn played at Arkansas this Saturday, while we're playing Georgia, let's say Auburn was playing at Arkansas, I think Arkansas is favored to win the game at Arkansas.
Oh, there's no doubt.
They're favored. And
Auburn was a 3-point favorite at their place.
That's right.
You get 3 points for being at home.
That's right. I think Arkansas will be favored 5 or 6 if they played again in Arkansas. If they played again at Auburn, Auburn's slight favorite or pick them.
Okay, and finally, so you wonder, why did y'all spend a segment talking about this? Well, let's also be honest that Hugh Freeze is recruiting very well. He's recruiting very well in state. And if this thing is starting to show signs of a shaky foundation, that can't hurt Alabama in recruiting. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
One last thing I'll throw in, because I've never, this isn't about Hugh Freeze. I've never said, it seems like a lot of Alabama fans take some glee when Auburn might make a coaching change. I never get that. Always, if there's some sort of controversy and you want Auburn to suffer, it seems to me you should root for Auburn keeping the coach they have and not, hey, isn't this fun? What happens when they change coaches and accidentally get it right? Which, by the way, is inevitable. I mean, at
It
some
is, isn't
point, they're going, if they change them out 10 times, they're going to stumble upon the hire at some point. At some point, they're hiring the next Kirby. You know, I mean, that could happen. So I don't, but again, I pay less attention. I mean, I know Luke's more of the Auburnator because he grew up literally surrounded by Auburn. I grew up in more of a 50-50 or frankly a 60-40 or 70-30 pro Alabama area. So I'm not quite as inundated with it as Luke. But it does, Luke's right in terms of why we're talking about Auburn. It has a direct effect on Alabama recruiting. No question that's true.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.